Let's have a yoga strap, a long scarf, or our tightly rolled up towel nearby that we'll use towards the end of our class. We will start in our supported pose that I did on Sunday. So if you're in that Sunday class, it's Supta Baddha Konasana, but I added a little bit variation to help really elevate the chest and open up the chest and the heart to kind of counter all the forward folding we do. So we can take our pillows towards the front of our mat for leg support. If you have yoga blocks, have them near your mat, a little washcloth or eye covering for the end of class. We'll either use a blanket or a towel for this additional little support. So if you want less, you want to take a bath towel and to make it into a long rectangular fold, folding it in half one more time, and then rolling it up from the long edge. It needs to be wide enough that it spans across that upper back. If we want a little bit more tonight, same thing, a blanket, long rectangle, folded into a smaller rectangle, and rolled up nice and tight from the long edge. And remember, if these props don't feel good for whatever reason, we can rearrange them. So then we'll take our roll and place it towards the back of our mat. And we want enough space on the other side of the roll for the shoulders and the back of the head. So this roll actually lies right at the tip of the shoulder blades or just below the shoulder blades, so that the shoulders will roll back off to the ground, we'll bend at the elbows, and backs of the hands will flop to the ground. So when we start to situate ourselves here, we still want to lengthen that low back out and start to release the back down. And when we feel that lift, we should be able to let those shoulders then fall back to the ground so that the upper arm bones are also above your roll. And then this is where the back of the hands might easily touch or need some help, but we need to rearrange our legs first. So we'll either keep the knees bent up and together, if that feels better for the low back, supported with our pillow, Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet touch in, knees open, or straighten those legs up. Let those feet flop open and find your place of comfort. So we'll all take a moment here, wiggle around, make those adjustments. So this will be a pretty big lift if we have a bigger roll. And so we'll feel that stretch through the chest and the rib cage. And we just want to let the shoulders, elbows, and hands gently fall to the ground. Rock the head, finding the very back center of the skull. Poof the cheeks with air, wiggle out the mouth, the tongue, and jaw. Allow that low back to sink into the ground. And then feel the heaviness of the legs as well, relaxing all the way down the rest of the body, into the feet and toes. Let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose here and start to fill the whole body up. And let's take a nice deep breath out through the nose. As we exhale, feel any tension and tightness start to leave the body. The whole body relaxes down to the ground. All the little muscles across the face soften. All the way down the limbs of the arms into the hands and fingers. The limbs down the legs into the feet and toes. Continue to let the body relax and settle in for our practice this evening, bringing our mind into the body and onto the mat. And now let's continue to feel and notice the natural rhythm of our breath this evening. Just observe the body breathe. And again, with this lift underneath the chest, and as that chest lifts and stretches, we might feel our breath move a little bit more differently. So this pose does help improve our breathing. This is somewhat of a subtle supported fish pose. So it does help stretch out those little muscles that wrap between the rib cage. Still try to feel a little movement in the abdomen here. So just a gentle rise and fall of the belly with the breath. And as we relax deeper with our breath, that breath can grow over time. So it might start to lengthen and stretch out. But let's try to keep it as even as possible. So to help practice that Samavriti or equal breathing pranayama, when we get to our next inhale, mentally count the number we're breathing in. And when we get to our exhale, count the same number back out. And we're allowing that breath to roll smoothly, just like the waves of the ocean rolling in and out from shore. So on our inhales, we fill ourselves up all the way from the bottom to the top. And on our exhales, we empty back out from the top all the way back to the bottom. Let's all try to follow 2 more cycles of breath at our own rhythm and pace. And then 1 more complete cycle of breath, and let's allow this breath to be our biggest breath of our day yet. So the next time we get to that next inhalation, we'll really take our time to breathe in and fill ourselves up with as much fresh air, prana, and energy as possible. And when we get to that next exhale, we'll take just as much time, if not even longer, to empty, empty, empty every last drop, clean it all out, let it all go. And at the bottom of that exhale, we'll let go of trying to follow and control the breath for a moment. Start to notice and feel the physical body again, relaxed here on our props on the floor. We'll start to wake the body up by wiggling the toes, giving the fingers a little wiggle. Another gentle rock of the head, if that's okay on the neck. If those knees are open in Baddha Konasana, let's float those knees up, and we'll all stretch our legs down the middle of our mat, straightening them out. And then be mindful of this stretch on the shoulders. Try to slide your arms overhead as far as possible, coming into our long body stretch here. Point and flex the feet, spread the fingers, feel your right side growing a little bit longer, feel that left side growing a little bit longer. And then let's all take 1 more big breath in and stretch the whole body out, flex the feet, toes to shin bones. And on the exhale, carefully relax the elbows back down. Step the feet in. So since we're up on this lift, we might not be able to hug the knees in, so don't force it. But do just try to float the feet up just enough so that we can roll ourselves over to one side, rest the head on the arm for a moment, hand to the floor. And then we'll press into the ground and we'll come up just high enough to slide our props out. We are going to come back down to our back here for a moment and do a couple other warming movements for our body. But we'll just clear some space here. And then come right back down to the ground. Make your adjustments in the hair and clothing in your space. And just relax the legs down here. Draw the shoulder blades under. Draw that low belly in and bend your right knee up, taking a hold of the right shin bone for Pavana Muktasana. Now the feet might be more active and flexing, or the feet can actually kind of relax. Do you try to relax the legs here and just use the strength in your hands to very gently draw the right knee towards the right armpit on the exhale. We'll hold for a couple of breaths. So on the inhale, you can relax out of the pose a little bit. Try to let the abdomen to expand. Shoulders down, elbows down. Exhaling, gently pull the right knee to the right armpit. So it's moving out just at a slight angle. Too much for the knee, you're holding behind the thigh. When we're leaving pose, big stretch for some of us in our hips. Purposeful compression of the abdominal wall for one more breath. Breathe it in. Exhale, pull and squeeze. Now inhale, relax that foot to the floor and slide it all the way back out. Reach the arms overhead for a moment to stretch everything out. And then exhale, float those arms back down, pull the belly in, pull the left knee up, interweave the fingers on the shin bone. Breathe it in, shoulders and elbows down. And on the exhale, the hands draw the left knee towards the left armpit. So just out at that slight angle again. On the inhale, you can back off a little bit, try to inflate the abdomen. Exhale, we're pulling. Relax the hips. Low back is flat to the floor. So we might feel a little pinching across the front of that left hip. We'll feel this compression in the belly. That's what it's supposed to do. One more breath. Inhaling. Exhale. So this is a good pose to do in the evening, especially after dinner, after your food is settled a little bit. It keeps your digestion working well. And then that next inhale, release the foot, slide the leg down. Arms overhead, long body stretch. Let the low back gently arch. Exhale, float those arms down. Walk the feet in. Draw low belly in. Now hug both knees in. So this is actually a version of Pavanamuktasana as well. Then when we try to reach our arms over our shin bones here, we try to take a hold of opposite elbows, forearms, or wrists, whatever you can manage. And then you keep the head relaxed down and you're drawing the knees together and in. So now we're compressing the whole belly. Do try to keep your low back flat to the floor. The feet are relaxed. So we're just pulling and squeezing. The face should be nice and relaxed. Try one more breath. And for some of us, again, we'll feel that stretch the front of the hips as well. Or not stretch, it's compression. But now hold behind those thighs. Let's stretch both legs up to the ceiling in our waterfall pose. Point and flex the feet. Actively press your thighs into your hands. Now press the heels up to the ceiling, flex the feet. Try to open up the eyes of those knees as much as possible. Inhale, open both legs out into our wide angle pose. Support the outer weight of the legs with the hands. Roll the ankles a few times, allowing gravity to start stretching out those inner thigh and growing muscles. If we're ready for it, hands move to the inside to deepen the stretch. Continue to try to press those heels out. Big stretch for those legs. Breathe it in. Now on the exhale, squeeze both legs up to the ceiling, but this time hold on to the right leg only and lower the left leg to the floor. So we'll work a little bit on our hamstrings. Point and flex the feet a couple times. We're still trying to get our right leg as straight as possible. Welcome to kind of massage vigorously up into that hamstring, up and down the back of the thigh. Now, those of us that want a little bit more, walk the hands up to the calf muscle, floating the head up from the ground. Now I'm anchoring my left leg into the floor, trying to straighten up the right leg. Some of you might even be able to draw the knee towards the nose. This will also stretch out the upper back. Take one more breath in. On the exhale, relax the head down. Using the core, try to lower the right leg all the way down to the floor. Inhale, both arms overhead. Stretch it out. Exhale, arms float down. Walk the feet in. Pull the belly in to hug the knees in. Take a hold behind the thighs. Straighten the legs up. Waterfall pose. Other side, hold on to the left thigh. Slowly lower the right leg with control all the way back down to the ground. Give this left hamstring a little massage, some vigorous rubbing to warm and heat that muscle. Point and flex the feet. To deepen the stretch, hands move up to the calf muscle. Head floats up as if we're trying to draw the knee towards the nose. Make your modifications. Right leg stays anchored. Take one more breath in. And again, with control, lower the head, pull that low belly in and try to lower the left leg all the way down to the ground. Good. Nice controlled movements. Inhale, both arms overhead. Let that low back gently arch. Exhale, arms float down. Let's walk our feet in. One more time, hug those knees in. This time, just rock it a little side to side. And then let's bring our right arm beside our head, rolling back over to our side and pausing just for a moment in our sleeping baby pose. And then look to the ground, press down into the ground, and we'll bring our bodies up. So we'll now transition to a comfortable seated posture today. So just easy cross or sukhasana. Do lift up on your folded blanket towels or cushions so that our spine can stay nice and tall. Whoop, falling off mine. Find your sit bones, so move the flesh out of the way. Really try to lift and lengthen through the front of the chest and the heart, floating the head right on top of those shoulders. And let's extend those arms out from beside the body here. Turn the palms up. Inhale, breathing, just reach the arms up to the ceiling. Take a nice big stretch. Turn the palms back out and exhale, float it down. Moving right into our lateral extension or seated triangle. Inhale, right arm reaches up. Keep that right sit bone anchored, low belly in to protect the back as we lean to our left. Inhale, comes up. Switch arms, exhale. Slide down that invisible wall. Pull those lower ribs away from the waist. One more time to each side. Inhaling up. Exhale. Big side body stretch. Feel free to take that drishti upwards if that's okay for the neck. We'll take it one more time over to our right. Inhaling, both arms come up. That's where we'll meet after that last breath. Palms touch. Exhale to center. So let's switch up the cross of those legs, opposite foot in front. Sit up tall on those sit bones. So from here, inhale, arms up. We'll go into our seated twist. On the exhale, rotate along the axis of the spine to the right. Fingertips might reach to the opposite knee and slightly behind us. Continue this rotation through the shoulders, the neck, and those eyes. Big breath in to reach everything back up to center. Exhale, rotate to the left. Let the head and the eyes follow, keeping the shoulders and the chin parallel to the floor. Let's do that one more time to each side. Inhaling up through our center. Nice big twist. Great to help release the muscles down the back. Inhaling up. And one more time. Exhale, bring it all out to the left. And then inhale, both arms back up. We'll bring those palms to touch and exhale to our center. So now we'll transition to our tabletop. You're welcome to crawl over your legs or float your feet forward and slide them around you. Spread out nice and wide through the fingers. Hands are as broad as our shoulders. Press into that ground so we feel the strength in our arms. Float the head and line up those knees and feet, hips width apart. From here on our inhale, relax the abdomen. Lift and lengthen from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head into cow pose. Exhale, draw the belly in, scoop, tuck, and round into our cat stretch. Again, let your breath be your guide and feel this breath moving like the waves of the ocean, rolling up and down the whole spine, vertebra by vertebra. If one of these feels really nice for our back, maybe the gentle back bend or maybe the rounding to stretch the muscles, We can always hold on to it a little bit longer, adding some elements of shoulder, head, and neck movements. And then we'll bring it back to a neutral position, a little bit more abdominal work. So we need to pull in through those lower abs so that we can keep our low back and hips flat or level to the floor. Stretch the right leg back from the hip. Press that heel back to intensify the stretch of the back of that leg. And then recenter the weight. We're going to stay on this side. Squeeze the right buttock to now hover the right leg parallel to the floor. So we're getting a little bit balance work. Your low back and hips should stay level, toes pointing down. A little bit more balance work. Left arm reaches forward. So we're in our spinal integration. Palm in, thumb up. Notice the breath. And we'll take one more nice deep breath in. And then exhale, bring the hand and the knee down. There should not be a lot of dropping or adjustment when you lower down. So hanging on to those core muscles. Stretch that left foot straight back from the hip. First, we'll give the back of the leg a nice stretch. So press the heel towards the ground, shifting our weight back. Then recenter the weight of the body. Squeeze the left side to hover the left leg parallel to the floor. Feel that whole band of muscles that wrap around the waist tighten, adding the right arm straight forward from the shoulder, palm in, thumb up. And if we're shaky and weeble wobbly, that's fine. We're building up that strength. That's some muscles trying to figure out how to hold ourselves in space. One more big breath in. Exhale, hand and knee come down. Let's give our wrists a break and stretch out our low back and hips even more in child's pose. Wide knee child's pose opens the knees wider than the hips, touch the toes together. Take props behind those hip bones if you like them for the knees. To continue to stretch that chest and heart, hands can open up even wider, maybe even off the sides of the mat here. And then we'll melt the belly, the heart, and the head to the ground. Just remember, if the head doesn't easily touch, do support it with something, whether that's your own arms or some type of prop. Now breathe into the back side of the body, letting go of any tension or tightness around that low back, around those hip creases. Allowing our mind to ground towards the earth. One more breath. Now on the next inhale, we'll float the head up. Walk the hands back towards the body just a little bit. We're still sitting back on the heels. We're going to come into thread the needle from child's pose. So from here, we'll take our right arm and bring it right underneath the chest, and then look to the left and bringing the right shoulder and the head down to the ground. If the head doesn't easily touch the ground here, place your folded blanket or towel under the right ear. Now the left arm can continue to reach forward to the front of the yoga mat.
Joanne?
Yeah.
So is the butt, is it on the, so you're still in your child's pose here, so the butt is not lifting?
Correct, if you can. Yeah, so you want to keep your sit bones on your heels. You're still sitting back, and just the right arm is coming right underneath the chest. If that's too much for your knees, Anu, you can come back up to tabletop, because I know you take care of your knees.
Yeah.
Come back to tabletop, bring your knees back, hips width apart, and do the more common version.
The regular, okay.
Yeah. And take cushion with your knees. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll hold for here. Just another breath or two, giving ourselves, anytime you need to adjust, because this version does keep us in that deeper compression for the knees. So to come out, you'll take that left hand, you might need to slide it back towards you a little bit. We'll push into that left hand and slide the right arm out. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So the left arm slides right underneath the chest, right in front of the knees. We're turning, looking to the right, bringing the left shoulder to the ground and the ear to the ground. If the ear doesn't touch, slide your prop underneath the head If you're going from your regular thread the needle and table tuck, same thing. Your hips will just be lifted in the air. And then that right arm can re-extend the front of the yoga mat here. And we should feel this across the outer upper left shoulder. And still sinking if we're in child's pose, hips to heels. If your hips are up in the air, just be mindful of how that feels for the low back. One more breath. And then we might need to slide that hand in a little closer, those of us in the child's pose version. Press down into the ground to slide the left arm out. Both hands are going to come forward, and now we're all going to come up off of our knees, back into tabletop. So you'll need to readjust the knees to neutral. We'll walk our hands 1 hand's distance forward, tuck the toes under, draw the belly in, and now we'll come off our knees and give them a break by floating them up and bringing our hips back up and down into downward facing dog. So allowing the backs of those legs now to get a nice big stretch and all the blood to flow back down through those legs. Let's all inhale and try to lift our heels up as high as possible. And then exhale, sink the right heel to the ground, bending the left knee. Inhale, heels up. And exhale, switch. Left heel down, right heel comes up. And then inhale, both heels up, lift up on those tippy toes. Exhale, try to sink the heels back to the ground. Just enjoy this inversion for 1 more breath. Finding some stillness here in our pose. And then next inhale, we'll look forward. Baby step walk, feet to hands, hands to feet. If you're not forward folding, you'll come up and practice your mountain pose or bend those knees, placing elbows or hands on thighs. If we're in full Uttanasana, legs should still be nice and strong. Start to feel that Mula Bandha of the pelvic floor, lift and squeeze, lower abs as well. Feel free to take hold of opposite elbows to ragdoll, or just loosely try to relax the head, neck, and shoulders, getting rid of any tension and tightness in the upper half of the body. We are going to do our little bit of back strengthening here in our halfway lifts tonight. So on our next inhale, bring those hands onto the shins, lift the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together and down the back. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, halfway lift, little support with the hands. If you feel like you can take a little bit more tonight, you're welcome to locust your arms beside the torso and squeeze those palms in. I'm going to modify for my back tonight. Exhale, fold. 1 more time, halfway lift. Lift the chest, squeeze the muscles of the back, super strong back. And then on this next exhale, we're going to sit back. Even if you're modifying, you can add the arms secondary, float those arms up so that we're in Utkatasana. So we're dropping our low back to the ground, bending the knees towards the toes, and finding our fierce pose tonight. If you've been holding on to a lot of tension in your neck and shoulders, just bring your hands to the center of the heart here. And now we'll go right into our little bit of balance, start waking up our brain even more. So hovering our right foot from the floor, testing the waters here. Good, bring that foot down, try the left foot, give it a little lift. And now we'll bring that foot down and try to sink a little further back and down, knees to toes. Good. Inhale, let's lift all the way up. Straighten the body up. Lift the heels up, reach up to the ceiling. Turn those palms out and exhale, float it down. And then give me a big shoulder roll. So we're going to come into Prasarita Padottanasana today. So we will be opening up into our neutral position to take our straddle. You can move yourself on your mat to face laterally and use your yoga blocks out in front of you. I normally have my chair. I forgot to get it, so I'll see if I can suffice with my yoga block tonight. So we'll take a moment. If you have a chair you want to bring in front of you, your yoga blocks, and then you'll want to rearrange yourself so that you're in a non-slipping place on your mat. And then we'll just step open nice and wide. Ankles might be almost as wide as those, or wrists as wide as those ankles. Feet parallel, so toes are pointing straight forward. We want to make sure our knees are unlocked and that we're grounded through the four corners of both feet. Mount a big toe, inner heel, mount a pinky toe, outer heel. Big breath in. Exhale, hands to hips. This is where the movement happens, right here. This doesn't change. Draw front body to back body. Exhale and start to hinge. So you might come down just a little bit. Strong feet and legs. Pick up those toes if you ever feel like you get disconnected. And we'll hold this pose as well for several breaths. So if you have props that are waiting for you, bringing fingertips towards the props. Some of us might eventually be able to bring our hands to the floor, and you're welcome to feel that stretch as long as your front spine is as long as your back spine. So no rounding of the back. We're trying to tip the pelvis. And then inch your toes in slightly. See if you can get the toes to turn in a little bit more to encourage a little bit more internal rotation in the thigh bones. Now, those of us that might be moving a little further into the pose, the hands can walk back so that the fingertips are in line with the toes. And we should be feeling this pose up the backs of the legs, the inner groin. It helps stretch out the low back as well. And if you're deeper in the pose, you can keep your drishti right under the tip of the nose or release the crown of the head down to the ground. But we should still be pulling those shoulders away from the ears. One more breath here. And then next inhale, we're going to come back up to a halfway lift. So this is where a book or some sort of prop will probably help. And this you're more flexible and it's easy for you to keep your fingers on the ground or the seat of your chair. We're going to come into a spinal twist. So place the left hand directly underneath the nose to the floor or your prop and inhale the right arm out and up towards the ceiling, twisting to your right. Exhale, the right hand comes down and inhale, the left arm lifts. Now, some of you will notice that you're taking your pelvis with you. So you're letting the pelvis come at a slant. You'll feel a little bit more inner thigh stretch. You can also try to keep that low back level. Exhale down. Let's do that one more time to each side. Inhaling. So two different schools of thought on there. You just have to feel what's best for your body. Be mindful of the SI joints. Exhaling. We'll take it one more time to our left. The head and neck can follow. The eyes can try to look upwards. Good, and then we'll meet on the exhale. So now we need to re-engage. You might even need to inch your feet in a little bit, micro bend your knees, float up on your fingertips, strong core. Exhale, one hand at a time to your hips, and then inhale, lift up through the crown of the head. Inhale, inhale, inhale. That's also an inversion. Try to inhale even more and reach both arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, bring the palms to touch, lower to your center. Now, turn the heels in so that the toes are turned out. Inhale, re-extend those arms up into a V. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees out to our toes and drop those elbows down. So strengthening the upper back, strengthening the legs. Inhale, out to star pose. Exhale, Kalyasana, sliding right down the invisible wall. Squeeze the back, good. Inhaling. Exhale. Track those knees to those toes, pull down. One more time. This exhale, we're gonna hold it down. So this wide knee squatting position and try a little bit of balance work here. So you can take Chin Mudra in the hands, index finger to thumb. Try to lift the right heel up from the ground. Try the left heel. And then maybe try both heels. Continue to pull in those low bellies. Head is relaxed. Okay. And now take a big breath in. Reach the arms softly overhead. And then add a little bit of fluidity here. So on the exhale, it's more of a soft movement. Inhaling up, exhaling down. So this helps loosen up the joints, improves our circulation, and just kind of gets the energy moving back through the body. One more. We'll meet on the inhale, reaching everything up. Exhale, hands come back to heart. Now turn the toes back forward. The feet are still a little wider. You can inch them in a little bit closer, but they're probably a little wider than the hips. We'll lean into our right leg for our single leg balancing work today. Start to play with your balance, lift and lower the toes. Relax the arms down and try to find that hover. So I might have done this with you guys on Sunday, so my head's cut off here. That's okay, you don't need to see it. So if it's okay in your knees, so Anu, be careful, and anyone else taking care of your knees. You can try to bend into your standing leg. I'm still hovering, but I'm doing the single leg squat. This tones and strengthens those muscles around the knee and then straighten. Little bend, good. And then we can take it into our full star pose where we use that side body to lift the leg and the arms out to a V. Shrug the shoulders from the ears. If you're in a safe space, don't knock your partner down. You can try to blink your eyes or close your eyes and play with that blind balancing. Good. It's hard on our ego because our ego likes it to be easy, but it's good for our brain. Breathe it in. Next exhale, we land as softly as possible. We keep our focus and our drishti, and we go right into Tadasana. Inhale, arms up. Bring the palms to touch. Exhale, hands to heart. Lean to the left. Super strong left side pushes through the floor. Right side gets to get a little lighter here. And then softness in the upper body, floating. Mind the knees, maybe try some of these single standing squats, a bend and a straighten. Challenges the balance too, good. And then, full star pose, trying to lift the leg and then the arms come up into a V. Neck is relaxed and long. Blink of the eyes or closing them all together. Notice the breath. Good, challenge yourself. Breathe it in. Exhale, land as softly as possible. Tadasana. Equalize the weight in both feet. Feel both feet anchored to the ground. Legs are strong. Pull front body to back body. Relax the face and the neck completely. Big breath in, let's reach it up. Exhale, hands to heart. Okay, so if we moved around in our space, which we all probably did, let's come back to the top of our yoga mats in our Tadasana. Now we're gonna go into pigeon pose tonight, so Anu and other knee people, you're not gonna do prone pigeon. That's too much on the knees. So you will, at some point, transfer yourself onto your back and do figure four instead. So the right leg comes up, foot is actively flexed. You cross out right ankle on that left thigh, and you can get the stretch here for that outer hip. That way the knees don't take the pressure. Lena, you too, if you still having that issue like we have talked about, you can do this version. Left knee can pull in, hands behind the thigh, left leg up, or hands to the shin bone, okay? Those of us that want to try fuller pigeon, we'll move from downward facing dog. But you can make your transition when we all get to that point. So we'll come back to mountain pose, stand tall, lengthen up to the crown of that head. Big breath in, last chance to stretch everything out here, reach up to the ceiling. This exhale micro bends the knees, hinges from the hips, and we forward fold. Uttanasana or your modification. Inhale, halfway lift. The exhale bends the knees and plants the hands, so we'll take a big step back, one foot at a time to downward facing dog. So those of you that are gonna do supine pigeon on your back, you can work your way there through child's pose, however is easiest. We'll start with the right leg, all of us. If you're on your back, your right leg stretches up to the ceiling. You must keep that foot flat. Down dog, people, right leg up. Exhale, we pull the right knee forward. Now that right knee angles out behind the right wrist. So that thigh bone is moving out slightly. And then slide the left knee and foot down to the ground and behind you even further. Place support under the right hip as needed. If you ever feel any weirdness in the knees, you gotta get out of the pose. It's not worth it. And you might be able to bring your right shin bone more parallel to the front of the mat. Again, that just depends on your natural structure of the hip socket and joint. So we will hold wherever we are for several breaths, several moments. Those of us in prone pigeon, as we get those deeper hip rotators to stretch, we might be able to come a little further down onto our forearms, taking props under the forehead. If you're on the back, feel free to move through those different variations, hands behind the thigh or to the shin bone, and doing a little tiny rock side to side on the back. You can kind of get into those muscles a little differently. And then just breathe. And using that exhale to let go of tension and tightness in the body. Remember to keep the face and the mouth and the jaw relaxed. And let's all take one more round of breath. Full breath in. And last chance to exhale and let it all go. And then let's float the head up. So if you're on your back, you will re-extend the right leg straight up to the ceiling, bring the right foot to the floor, and feel free to rock your knees side to side, hug the knees in, or take a happy baby to transition. Those of us in prone pigeon, we need to bring the hands back underneath the shoulders, tuck the back toes under, inch that back knee slightly forward. It's very important to press into the ground and lift up off the knees first, and then move the leg out. So feel free to roll that thigh bone around, walk the dog a couple times, getting that nice big rush of blood back through that right knee. So other side, supine pigeon people, straighten the left leg straight up to the ceiling. Keep that foot very flexed. Cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Hang out there for a moment. Down dog, left leg up. Pull that left knee forward and out behind the left wrist. Our left foot is also somewhat active. Dropping back down, that back foot and knee tries to walk back a little bit. Support underneath the left hip is needed. And then we're trying to sink both hips and low back level and down to the ground evenly. This is one of those poses that one side can feel very different than another. That's totally normal. If you're on your back, you can continue to play with those different variations. If we're going to come forward, use your forearms, yoga props. And again, we'll be breathing here, getting into those deep hip rotators. And one more cycle of breath in the pose. Last chance to let it all go. So supine people, straighten that left leg back up to the ceiling, dropping the foot down and rocking it side to side. Prone pigeon, hands under shoulders, tuck the back toes. Try to inch forward so we can take weight back in the hands, pull the low belly in, lifting off of our knees so that we can stretch out that left leg and get the blood flowing back down that leg. And then one more breath in down dog, sinking those heels towards the ground, belly pulls in, draws towards the thighs, thighs push back. Let's inhale, lift our heels up as high as we can. And then exhale, drop the knees to the ground, sitting back on those heels one more time if it's an option. In the more traditional child's pose, sliding the hands back to the feet, bowing the head to the ground to give our back another stretch. And then we'll bring those hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin, and rise on up. Shifting our weight over to either hip and bringing those feet forward. So we are going to come right down onto our backs here. At this point, we'll want the yoga strap nearby or our prop that we're using. And if I have time, we'll also either want a yoga block, a book, a firmly folded blanket, or some type of cushion for supported bridge pose. Hopefully, I think we'll have time when I get into Supta Padangusthasana too. So we'll rearrange ourselves. We can walk ourselves down onto our back tonight. And then roll onto our back. Loosen up the clothing here, draw the shoulders down our back. Once we get into alignment, we've made our adjustments. Let's hug those knees in and rock out the back. And then dropping the feet to the floor, let's take a hold of our strap. We'll just do a basic version of Supta Padangusthasana so we can stretch out our hamstrings some more in the area around our hips. So we'll start with the right leg, bringing that strap around that lower arch towards the heel, and then getting that right leg as straight as possible. Remembering it's so important to stretch our hamstrings for low back health. Tight hamstrings throw our pelvis out of alignment and creates that ripple effect up our spine. And it's the end of the day, so we might find that we have just a tiny bit more flexibility. Never know. If you want to wrap your strap around your hands, you can, but try to keep the heart open. And then we'll slide the left heel forward. That foot is flexed. The left side is anchored now to the ground. And gently try to draw the right leg a little closer into the body. Now we'll take a hold of the strap in the right hand. Very important to keep that left side down, low back flat to the floor. So you'll have to use some strength along the left-hand side. Place your left hand on your hip. Try to get that right thigh bone closer to the torso, so we might need to bend the knee first. Drop the right elbow out from the shoulder. Keep tension on the strap. Press your left side down, and then re-extend the leg out. So we're opening up the inner thigh groin of the right leg and the hip. Left arm may reach out from the shoulder, head turns to the left to counter twist the neck. Take a couple nice big breaths here. And on the inhale, the head and the leg comes back up. Switch hands. So now the left hand holds on. We're keeping our right leg straight. We're just angling it across the midline, trying to pull that right hip back down to the ground to get into this outer hip. Massage, rub into those muscles as needed. And then taking it into our twist, now bend the left elbow to the ground. Let the right hip come up. Sink the right shoulder back down and extend the right arm out from the shoulder, head turns to the right. Big twist. And still feeling this around the hips if we're tight there. Relax the face. Next inhale, we'll bring the head and leg back up. Open the strap up. Slide the left foot in and up. Waterfall pose, neutralizing here. And then bring the right foot to the floor. Open up the strap, keep the heart open, straighten that left leg up to the ceiling. Slide the right heel straight forward, keep the right foot actively flexing, anchoring the right leg to the ground. Maybe drawing that left leg a little bit closer towards the body. Keep the shoulders relaxed down. And then we'll take a hold with just the left hand. Strengthen your right side, right hand to hip, anchor it to the ground. Bend the left knee a little bit if needed to get that thigh bone closer to the torso. Left elbow drops outside of the body, left leg opens out. Then try to re-extend the leg. Keep tension on the belt. Right arm reaches out from the shoulder, head turns to the right to counter. And then bring the head up and the leg up. Right hand holds on, left leg stays straight, left hip stays down, low back stays flat to the floor, trying to get into that sweet spot where we can stretch out the fascia, this outer left thigh and outer hip. And then moving into the twist, bend the right elbow, keep tension on the strap, let the left hip lift up. Left shoulder sinks down, head to the left. Take a couple big breaths here. The inhale will float the head and the leg back up. Open the strap, slide the right foot in and up. Pause and waterfall pose for a moment. And then bend the knees, take the strap off to the side. Let the knees continue to fall into the body, cross one ankle on top of the other. Straighten the arms straight up to the ceiling. Flicker the fingertips for a moment, and then just allow the fingertips to fall forward in dead bug pose. Switch the cross at the ankles. Take another breath here. Uncross the ankles, hands to knees or shins. Float the head up for a moment. Give the body a little squeeze. And then exhale, we'll drop the feet to the floor. So the next pose we're going to move into is going to be a little restorative bridge pose, so supported Setu Bandhasan. This is where you'll either want a firmly folded blanket. You need something firm and level and just a few inches from the ground to give your hips a little bit of a lift. Parallel the feet, anchor the shoulders underneath the back, squeeze the buttock and the back side to lift the hips up. And you're sliding that prop right under the sacrum, which is the lower flat part of the back. It should be able to support the whole weight of the hips. A little bit of flesh hanging off the front of that support is normal. Adjust the shoulder blades so that the weight is moving into the shoulders. Our neck should be naturally curved away from the mat. Knees should still be pointing towards those toes. We have an invisible yoga block between our thighs. Now the arms can be more anchored down, palms down, fingertips towards the heels, or roll the arm bones open, palms up. Some of us might be able to take cactus arms, bending the elbows out from the shoulders. Now I will offer us the option of moving into Ardha Setu and Purna Setu. So half bridge and full bridge. So to try it, taking the right heel and sliding it straight forward to the front of the mat. This is going to open up the whole front of the right side. If that feels okay, slide the right foot in. See how it feels for the left side. If that side feels okay, we'll re-extend the right heel forward. I encourage the feet active and flexed and a tiny micro bend in the knees, so we're not just collapsing the knee joints to the ground, but we're still getting the benefit of opening up our hip flexors, countering the sitting from our day, to help decompress our internal organs, taking the pressure of gravity off of them, stretching out the chest, little inversion here, hearts above the head, and closing the eyes and taking a couple more breaths here. If anytime you feel like you need to come out of the pose early, don't hesitate. Just reverse out the same way you went into it. Let's try to take one more smooth breath in the pose. To release, we'll step those feet back in, 1 foot at a time. Draw those upper arm bones right back down beside the torso so that they can anchor and push into the ground. Tighten up the buttocks and only lift up just high enough to slide that block out. Lower the hips back down to the ground. Keeping this hip opening, let's step our feet as wide as our yoga mat. Knees are still up towards the ceiling. Cactus those arms out now if you did it in bridge pose. On the exhale, let the knees fall to the right, windshield wiper pose. Our left side will get a gentle back bend. It will continue to stretch the front of the hip across the thigh. And a subtle little twist here. So sink the left shoulder, turn the head to the left, and take a breath or two here. Those of you that want to self-adjust and place your right foot on that top thigh, you may, but that is not the best for people that take care of their knees. I don't do it because it's too much for my low back, but you're welcome to experiment with that. Inhale, we'll bring the head and the knees to neutral. And exhale, let the knees fall over to the left, and we'll hold this side for several breaths. So we're allowing the weight of the knees to sink to the ground. This will lift our right side body up. Gentle back bend, opening up the waist, the hip, the quad. Head turns to the right, shoulders stay sinking into the ground. Our next inhalation will bring us back to neutral, head and knees come up. Now, if you want to keep this opening that we created in the hips, simply slide your legs out to Shavasana from here. If you feel like you need to hug your knees in to stretch out the back or take a happy baby, you're welcome to do those things as well. We are going to work our way into fun and relaxation here. So if you're also wanting to bring the pillows, the blankets back into this pose, or you've grabbed a washcloth or an eye covering, we can gather those things up as well. So I'll give us all a moment to figure out what we need and where we need to be. Remembering our options are to take pillows under the legs, support under the head or the back, to either keep the knees bent up and together, knees open in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet touching, or this nice lengthening and relaxing in our traditional Shavasana, Legs can be a little wider, feet flapping open. Do you adjust the shoulder blades? Let the arm bones roll open beside the body. Relax the hands, the fingertips curl up. Find the back center of the skull. Close the eyes. And we're going to do a little practice of purposeful tension and release this evening. This is a really wonderful way to continue to help let go of stress and tension in the mind and body. So starting with just the face, I want us to wrinkle up and crease and cringe our face and tighten up all the muscles of our face and furl our brow as tight as we can. Squeeze those muscles and breathe it in. And then exhale, let them all relax. Now just the shoulders, arms, and hands. I want you to tighten up the muscles along the arms, hug the muscles to the bone, curl your hands up into two strong fists. Try to lift the arms an inch from the floor. Tighten and squeeze everything. Inhale. Exhale, let them flop. Now just the abdomen and the back side. So you're going to draw the belly in, squeeze and tighten the glutes and the buttocks, and tighten and squeeze those hips and belly. Breathe it in. Exhale, let them drop. Now just the legs, so tighten up the thighs, flex the feet, spread the toes, toes to shins. See if you can pop those heels or legs off the ground a half an inch or so. Tighten and squeeze all the way down those legs. Inhale. Exhale, let them drop. Now we're going to do the whole body together. So squish up the face, furrow the brow, tighten the mouth, squeeze the eyes, tighten up the arm bones, make two strong fists in the hands, float the arms an inch, pull the belly in, tighten up the glutes, the butt, the buttocks, and the hips, squeeze the legs, all the muscles of the legs, flex the feet, spread the toes, squeeze the whole body, every muscle in the body. Inhale. Exhale, let it all drop. Let the body drop into the ground. Zero resistance, heaviness, sinking into the floor. Notice all the contact points with the body and the floor. And relax those points, 10% more. Relaxing the whole right side. Relaxing the left side. Relaxing the front of the body. Relaxing the back of the body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. Whole body relaxes. The breath becomes easy, quiet, and calm. And if the mind wanders, gently bring it back to the peaceful breath, giving ourselves just one more moment today to let go, to relax, and sink into Shavasana. We'll slowly start to come back to that natural rhythm of our breath. And then start to breathe life back into the body. Waking the toes up, wiggling the fingers. Rock the head, rolling ankles and wrists. Our next inhale, we'll float the arms all the way overhead, revisiting our long body stretch, straightening the legs down the middle of our mat, flexing the toes, spreading the fingers. Let that low back gently arch, create space within the body. Breathe it in. Exhaling, arms float all the way back down. Step the feet in. Draw those knees back in. Little rock side to side here. Right arm falls beside the head, rolling and pausing on our side in Supta Balasana, sleeping baby for a moment. Letting the head relax on the arm. And then keeping the eyes closed or soft, press into the floor, press into the ground here, and we'll bring our bodies back up. Revisiting any comfortable seated posture, sitting up nice and tall. We'll take just a couple more breaths together this evening. Minding the space around us, let's re-extend the arms out from the torso, turning the palms up. Nice big breath in to float those arms all the way up to the ceiling and to gather up all that stuff we need for the rest of our evening. Turn the palms out, take an even bigger breath out to float the arms all the way back down to the ground and to let go of all that other junk we don't need this evening. And one more time, inhale, arms up. Palms touch, exhale, hands to heart. Humbly bow the head down to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that makes it possible for us to stay connected and practice our yoga together today. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace,